お帰りなさいませ。
What a fun episode of Demon Slayer. Fun and a little informative about our new Hashira as well. So let's just start off where we started. Or start with Tanjiro running with little Nezuko as he goes back over to his box. Nezuko currently has a rope tied around her mouth, so we know she won't go out and like eat somebody. That's always like a big thing. My brain was like, okay, what are you gonna do now that the wood thing's not there anymore? I'm pretty sure Nezuko still has the trance anyway, so I think we're mostly fine since she's not in rage mode, but also, you know, it's just important to keep in mind. Tanjiro put the box in his back and then goes back into the fight. Then we go back into Gyaturo, however you pronounce his name, Gyutaro's envy kind of thing against Uzui, because that seems to be most of his characters, just being a very envious person. Telling him that he's probably somebody who was born talented and blah 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 blah, which I think is interesting because it almost feels like the guy who wrote this obviously had some inspiration for Naruto, specifically for this kind of example. I even think about the brother thing too. It's kind of like it's like reverse Sasuke and Itachi to some degree, not completely, just like the brothers of a clan that's about to go out and blah 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 blah. So anyway, so Uzui says he doesn't like to be called talented, and he compares himself to his fellow Hashiras. One that he says is an enigma, which is that one guy with the beads in his hand. And then another one was a Hashira in about a month. That's crazy. It's like freaking insane. Do you know how many people he let slip through his fingers? How many people he allowed to die? And Uzui is not obviously happy about it. He's quite pissed. He is quite pissed about having to be told that. And I thought it was interesting because we're getting to a dichotomy where we're going to have to figure out all these new people. And I think that's going to be the more interesting part, is discovering who each of these Hashira are. The only people we've had any sort of... The Hashira we have information on right now would be... It was Rengoku, Shinobu, Giyu, and now Uzui. And this is going down the list. I think we have like, what? Like 7, 8 more people to have to try to learn about? I don't remember how many. Either way, so we go into his backstory because he's like, I'm a ninja, and they're all like, Shinobi don't exist anymore. They were wiped out in the Edo period. And he was like, no, I'm not lying. I'm a ninja. He had 9 brothers and sisters. 7 of them died by the age of when he was the age of 15. And his father then panicked and then also like possessed to keep his family lineage alive, made him and his brother go through brutal training till they were their current age. And then not only that, his brother started to become like his father, where he would see everybody as expendable, subordinates, wives, or wherever else. You're all expendable to him. And I thought it was interesting that this time we had a older brother not want to become like a younger brother. Typically when you see these kind of shows, they're just, the trope is it's a younger brother with an older brother who is either misguided, who is either too far into the rules, or he's evil. So they're like one or the other. The father's still here, so we still have a little bit of like there's still somebody older than him he doesn't want to be like. But it's just very interesting to see that they used the little brother for that regard. And we actually saw his face. And it doesn't seem like he's dead either. So that's a possible thing. He didn't say my little brother was. I don't think he said was. I don't think he said just past tense. If he is dead, then never mind. But point still remains. So we go a little further. After Tengen's done giving his story basically, and we see Tengen meeting the master for the first time. And the thing about the master at that point is his face wasn't completely covered by the scar or growth. You can see both of his eyeballs are not blurred out. And I think he's blind now, normally, right? I think he's blind now. Whenever you give characters Hinata eyes, it's funny, or Hinata Toph eyes, because it's always funny. My family thought Hinata was blind, and I was like, no, she's like the best vision in the whole freaking show. She has one of the best visions in the whole show. But sometimes it can be hard to tell with these kind of things. Either way. So we also have that the master basically acknowledged Uzui's inner struggles, and he also seemed to have welcomed him and all his wives, and basically their kind of game plan and purpose in life. It could be that Uzui, unironically, I was about to say, because typically when a person is showing this much personality or they're trying to be this flashy, it's because they have a lot of siblings that they're competing with, but he doesn't have many siblings, sadly, that he's competing with. He has a sibling he's competing with. And in this regard, this is probably more of a sense of individuality away from his father and a sense of rebellion. But it's quite interesting. Quite interesting. Uzui is poisoned right now, but he is very hyped. I'm not going to be able to go to each of these fight scenes in detail. Just know they're really, really good. Like, I really enjoyed these fight scenes. Uzui is, like, stupid close to killing both of them. He cuts Daki's neck off immediately, and her screaming is freaking hilarious about it. And then he goes, like, he's, like, an inch away. I think he cuts Gyaturo's neck just a little bit, as he extends his sword and, like, pinches it from the very end instead. But then Gyaturo steps back, and then they obviously start making their threats again. Daki puts her head back on. But then the boys are here. Inosuke and Zenitsu show up. And then also Tanjiro hops through the ceiling. We see people are being evacuated. So it turns out Suma and I think it's Makio were both doing their job. Good job on them. I wrote, the boys are back. The ninja girls are on the job. This is what I wrote down on my notes. But now it's good that they're getting everybody out the city so people can just freaking go all out. There's no reason to have to hold back, and also no random casualties because Daki just likes throwing her freaking slashes through everything. And then Uzui gives him like, oh, you guys are your flashy entrances. Nice. I thought it was a nice touch. Tanjiro with all the oh, here we go. Okay, so here's a very fun part for me. In this episode is the fact that Tanjiro almost has a secondary big brother figure. And I think it's really nice that they don't write Tanjiro as the most confident MC, but he's also not Deku, where he undermines every movement he does, which can be very annoying with that character. Tanjiro has a realistic sense of fear whenever he's fighting an opponent that is stronger than him, but he doesn't run away from it because what do you do if you run away from it? You die and everybody else around you dies. It could be an interesting character story, but that's not Tanjiro's story. It's nice to see Tanjiro doubt himself, have to try to pull himself together, because a lot of this stuff is terrifying. A lot of these people are kind of broken. Uzui is stupid fast, as I've just come to realize, and I think I've heard him say it beforehand, but I think it just clocked in my brain. He has sound breathing. I don't think that has anything to do with crazy speed or whatever else, but if I was going to assume who was the fastest person here in the room, it's probably the guy with the sound breathing. He can probably move at the speed of sound. And he's a ninja. Oh man. And so it was nice having Uzui basically, Tanjiro's like doubting himself in his head, and Uzui yells out loud, "We're gonna win!" And I think to some degree either he is showing Tanjiro a bit of Rengoku, or he's also trying to keep up Rengoku's spirit to some degree. Like, that's him remembering Rengoku as a person. And so also really cool thing, really cool, nice detail I like that they did. Zenitsu in sleep can tell that Daki is about to attack. And the moment she moves, his feet turns to her. And then as soon as she tries to attack Uzui from the side, Zenitsu throws her all the way up the roof. I was like, Jesus, Zenitsu, get her! That's what I freaking wanted. And it was really cool, because now he's involved. And he also brings up the fact, because she's like, hey, you're that ugly girl. And he's like, you remember that when you pulled that girl's ear and made her cry? No, you are going to apologize for that right now. And then, so we get a little bit more backstory with Daki, because here's the fun part with the demons. We get a little bit more backstory. Daki brings out the fact that in this town, women are treated like are objects, so the same as objects. And almost like the customers' disgusting look at the way that they look at all the women as objects in some degree. And Zenitsu brings up the fact that you shouldn't do awful things to people who have done awful to you, since these are like little girls being forced, or I don't know the word is forced, but living in these places where they would be seen as objects probably later on in their lives. And on to the fact of, I think, so we have something with Daki being burned probably at one point, because I think that was a part of the flashback. And it seems, because her and her brother are talking at the same time, or at least she might have like part of his voice from getting his other eye and having a third eye now on the top of her head. She got like a weird power-up thing. But it seems probably in the other life, her and her brother were wrong, leading to his envious personality and her cold personality, where she believes like she can just run through whatever she wants for funsies because it's justified. And him, he can take out his anger and envy at anything he wants because it's justified. Obviously, these are more heavy topics, but I also like that they brought them up for interest, because again, that is the time period we're in. This is a time period of less women rights. And then the other thing is I don't know if this, because so here's the thing with these kind of things, we're gonna get off the topic soon. It's just whether or not how fantasy you make your world to degree. Because I've heard people make the arguments beforehand, like, why aren't there more female Hashira? Because this is just a fantasy anime, so like just write the fantasy of a female Hashira, because it doesn't need to be historically accurate. So that's the point. But then also whatever the writer's trying to convey by only giving certain people powers. And again, there are 2 female Hashira, so that's still a thing. But the question is just like, where are they going with their story, or where they're trying to write this? That's always interesting. Anyways, that's just me kind of going on a tangent. We have the sound breathing in the fight, and the fighting is like really good. Also, with the ninja girls, very important thing. We see hinatsuru slowly trudging her way somewhere, which I'm not so sure she's still poisoned at the moment or just really injured from the Daki experience. I'm just gonna call it that. When you walk out of a building like that, it was the Daki experience. It's chaotic battle. I cannot describe to you all that's going through this battle. Daki is throwing stuff through the roof, and Zenitsu, Tanjiro's trying to block, but he's also too injured to block. He has to use water breathing to save Uzui's back. Uzui and Gyaturo are fighting at the bottom floor, slashing at each other crazy. Zenitsu and Inosuke are having to deal with tons of the scars. Zenitsu was, I think he was only very close in the beginning, and then they get really pushed like super far back towards the end of the fight, or towards the mid part of the fight. And then we now have Tanjiro basically having to play defense, as we get Uzui using his sound breathing and then basically knocking Gyaturo out of the room. Gyaturo mostly kind of jumping back in that instance, but still out of the room, and now they're out in the open. And so, right here, we get a little, also nice character moment, because Uzui is aware of the fact, or I'm just going to Tengen. Tengen is aware of the fact that Tanjiro is stupid injured. He shouldn't even be up right now. He's got a giant slash in the side of his shoulder. And I like that they both mutually blame themselves. I think that's a really nice touch to make your characters more likable, as they don't blame their problems on everybody else. They tend to blame their problems on themselves. So, it's also really good for just self-improvement in general, I would say. Tanjiro is feeling bad because he can't actually protect Uzui as much as possible. He's injured. He's also a little bit nervous. He's definitely overwhelmed. That was a very good part of the start of this fight, is you can really see how overwhelmed Tanjiro is. Not only is he a little bit afraid, but he is completely out of his element right now because there's way too much going on. And Uzui can feel that, and he also feels bad himself because he should have never have gotten himself poisoned. He can handle, it seems like he can almost handle the 2 of them, but now he's going to be injured and a bit slower probably, or sluggish because of this poison. But luckily enough, we have another person entering the fight, hinatsuru, so we can see why she was trudging along outside of being kind of probably tired. She has a giant kunai gun that launches like, I want to say 40 kunai at the same time. And I'm probably gonna use it for the thumbnail because I think I like it. Looks like it's not Terminator. There's something with a like hot lady holding big gun kind of situation. That stereotype is there. I'm using it for the thumbnail. It doesn't matter. You get the point. Anyways, she pulls it out. Boom, shoots at the same time. But Gyaturo was able to use his blood arts to block all of them. But now Hinatsuru gave them the opening for the attack. Uzui goes in for the attack. And what happens is he takes like 3 shurikens, 1 shuriken in his arm, the other shuriken in like his face. Gyataro's like, wow, he's actually running in here and getting hit. Like, he's a bit impressed. And he goes to try to slash at him, and he hops back. But when he hops back, he lets a kunai hit his neck, and Uzui chops off both his legs. And they won't grow back because his blade might have hysteria on it, or whatever the name of the plant is that the demons hate, as well as the kunai. And Tanjiro uses that advantage in order to hop in and try to cut his neck, and then the episode ends. And that's where we currently are. And then at the very end of the episode, a very nice little thing we get is Uzui thinking about how Rengoku would handle the situation, and Rengoku basically going, I couldn't do it like you either, my friend. Just be sure to take care of the 3 for me. And that was a very, very nice touch. And as everybody else keeps saying, you have too many wives. Ha 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 ha. Laugh. That was pretty sad. Either way, that was like a visual reaction. You guys just heard that. Check out this other video right here, my Demon Slayer reactions, if you enjoyed it. I just really liked this episode. This was just a very, very good episode. And I love the action set piece. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen next. We're on one of those cliffhangers where, did he cut him? Probably not. Or either that or Daki's going to go back to being main villain again. One or the other. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.